Welcome to Positive Waves. My name is Matthew Collinson.
I'm Joseph Somma.
And today we are going to talk about what happens when things don't go right. Raise your hand if you've had things go wrong on you.
What do you mean? It's another day in paradise. Nothing goes wrong. Everything goes right.
Exactly. And I feel like, all right, it's totally a perception thing for sure, but we all get stuck down those tunnels where just stuff isn't going right. Like yesterday, me and Joe sat down to go record, and just like everything wasn't working, static was coming in, connections were having problems, so many different things were happening. Then we all had our personal life stuff going on. Like it was my daughter's birthday yesterday, my oldest one. So I was like stressing out, and I was like, take a breath, Matt, because that's what we always talk about, taking a breath. But what you and I were talking about just a second ago, Joe, is we're like, I was talking to my wife, and we were talking about our clothes, kind of, and like we have enough clothes to get by and that kind of thing, but it's nothing special, kind of thing, I got a few t-shirts, I got some pants, got some stuff like that, but I really don't think it's going to change very much regardless of what I had coming in, because I feel like I just have a few nicer t-shirts and a few jeans, maybe a couple pairs of jeans that are a little bit nicer, but that's about it. Like, I don't suspect I'm going to be like one of those people that goes around and just like buys a bunch of shit. How about you?
Right. No, I'm in the same boat. I have enough to get by. I have enough to live my daily life, but I'm not in the position to be on live television every day with a new outfit every day, like our news anchors. Like they don't repeat. Like they're constantly replacing their clothes or updating or changing or switching up, and it's like I'm just a simple shorts and t-shirt guy when it comes to summer. I don't have all those extras. I'm not like a Hollywood celebrity where they got a closet the size of some of our houses and shit like that. So yeah, it's fun seeing how some of these people navigate through the world where some people do it with a whole lot of extras and some of us do it with just enough to get by, but we all seem to make it happen.
Yeah, I agree, man. It almost like, it's hard for me to understand, especially these days. These days where most of the stuff, like these things, are done on Zoom. I mean, we're doing this over across the country right now. You're way over in Michigan, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm in Oregon. So how cool is that, though? I mean, I think that's so neat, but I don't understand the reason. Like for me, there's no reason to get dressed up. Like I just don't care enough to.
Well, I care enough to put clean clothes on every day, but if I wear the same, like this shirt here, I actually have two of them. I just love the color blue. So it's not I'm wearing this shirt twice in a week. It's just I have two identical shirts, like my Life Vantage shirts. I'm sure, you've seen a couple of those on other Zoom calls we do together, and it's, they get washed, they just get worn. I have a small repeat cycle when it comes to articles of clothing.
Yeah. So let's go back to our subject now, and that is to get out of that shit, everything's going wrong state of mind.
Oh, you mean like yesterday morning?
Like yesterday morning. Because we took a breath. We decided not to record yesterday, which I think was wise on our parts. I didn't feel the right energy at the time. And
yeah, that was a unique thing where my Zoom usually works, no problem, no issues. It crashed, and you were telling me there was something put out that it crashed for many others. So I'm like, all right, cool, that's great. But trying to get that working, can't see crap on my cell phone. So I was like, I prefer the laptop. But yeah, after we got off the call, I'm still trying to get my login information to work, and come to find out my Wi-Fi router crashed as well. So I did the whole reset it and waiting for it to come back on. It took like 10-15 minutes. It was a while, but once it came back on, poof, everything was back. And it's like, what the hell happened? Like there was no rhyme or reason. But that's life. There's no rhyme or reason why a lot of the problems that come before us, come before us. And it's really, like you said earlier, taking that time to take a breath, to calm the mind, to not look at things with those emotions or those angers, and see what the lesson is. And I'm still trying to figure out what the lesson was for yesterday for me, but might have been something along the lines of slow down, take a little more time for yourself, because it's been a lot lately. Rush, rush, rush. Got to have this, got to do that, and we do need that time to slow down, to just take that moment to be in nature, or to find a quiet place to just breathe and do your meditations or whatever you may do to find that stillness to have a better day.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we can't only, like, we want to guess the reasons or guess the lessons kind of thing. And I think sometimes we just can't. Like, for instance, say we had recorded, we did put it out, and it wasn't as good as it could have been because we didn't do it. And then that caused this, and this to happen, right? So it's a chain reaction all the way down the line. And so for me, I almost try not to guess why anymore. I kind of just let things come at me, and then I breathe, like you said, and then I decide whether I need to still be doing this action or not. And that's kind of what happened yesterday when I was like, nope, we're not doing it now. I can't. Nope, the energy's all wrong. It's not happening right. And I think that happens to a lot of us throughout the day, but there's extremes, obviously. There's like car crashes, people getting hurt, injuries, sicknesses, so many things that are out there that can really mess up your day, versus like the small stuff like electronics going out or stuff like that. So I think there's perception on that piece as well. As the situation gets bigger and bigger, closer and closer to you, like if my wife had a heart attack and I had to bring her to the hospital, that'd be a big thing. That would be a big change up. But there would be no questions asked either. It would just be like, I'm dropping all my shit, I'm going.
But with anything that goes wrong in your world, there's one simple question you can ask, and there may not always be an answer, but it's one thing I've noticed lately. A lot of people don't like looking at themselves. They don't like thinking they could have had anything to do with it. I'm not the problem. I didn't do this. I didn't. Well, maybe if you look at yourself a little harder, a little deeper, you'll see you may have called that vibration into your world. You may have had bad karma that's coming back to bite you. The fact of the matter is, we're not all guilt-free. We've all done dumb stuff to create the shit that comes at us. And it's taking that moment to stop and recognize, okay, why did this happen? What did I do? What do I do to move through it? Is this something I'm going to let destroy my day, or is this something I'm going to leave behind me as I keep stepping forward into my better day? Because like I like to say, it's another day in paradise, and it truly can be, through thick or through thin. It doesn't matter. If you have the perception that, it's another day in paradise and you're creating your paradise, no matter what problems come at you, you can still navigate that problem and leave it behind you, resolved. And even if you can't resolve it at that moment, you don't have to carry it with you all day long. Like you go to work and someone, pisses you off right away, first thing. You don't have to be pissed off all day long. That's your choice. You're choosing to hold that anger. Let that shit go. Take a breath. Know that that person's obviously having a shit day, and you're not going to have a shit day because of them.
This is funny. This reminds me of a story that I recently went through. Oh man, what book? I think it was an Eckhart Tolle book, I want to say. But there were two monks. They were walking down the path. They get to a river that they have to cross. And there's a lady there. And she was like, can you help me get across? And so the master monk puts her up on his back and carries her across, and the other monk goes, and then puts her down on the other side of the river. And then the two monks keep walking. After that, the student monk turns to the master monk about 5 hours later and is like, we're not supposed to do that. Why would you do that? Why'd you carry her? Because they weren't supposed to interfere with anything, kind of thing, because it's Buddhist, right? And the master turns to the student and is like, I put her down 5 hours ago. Why are you still carrying her with you?
Right.
And it's that kind of thinking, though. It's that moment of, shit, should I still be worrying about this? Does it really matter?
Right. And some things, they may still matter to where you take that 5 hours to figure it out or to work through it or to process it. But if you don't have to, why should you?
Exactly. Like the electronics going down, really, it wasn't that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Just
I
get back
mean,
on.
it got resolved before my group Reiki call, so I was extremely grateful. And like I said, I don't know why it happened or what I was supposed to learn from it, but if I don't figure it out that moment, it'll come to me. It
You
may be
needed
that.
yeah, you needed the time to do it, though. You needed the time to get that reset and everything. And if we had tried to sit here and try to record, you wouldn't have been able to problem solve. You'd just be like, it's not working right.
Right, my head would have been more into the problem with the laptop not working, but the phone was working, and that's really what was throwing me off. Like, I can log into all of my stuff on my phone, but not my laptop. What's going on here? Who's in my system? So yeah, don't know exactly what happened, may not ever know exactly what happened. Just know that I'm grateful that I got things back up and running and I can see you on my screen.
Hey, and you were able to send great energy out to people in a big group after that. And I think that's pretty beautiful myself.
Right.
So I really find that I feel like the universe wants the best outcome from us. I call it universe, people call it God, people call it whatever they want to call it. I've got no preference as to what any of you listeners call the ultimate entity, but the one entity, the source, God, Allah, you pick your pleasure and have fun with it and love it. But I think that piece wants the best for us as humans. We're built to create. We're built to be here for the experiences that we're having. Do I know why? No. That is way beyond my pay grade.
You don't know your purpose here? You don't know everything you're supposed to do?
Kind of. I've learned my purpose over 40 years, but
I've been learning lessons that are helping me see my purpose a little more clearly. I may not know the big picture yet, but that's part of the joy of life. We get these little blips, these little clips, and when everything finally comes together, then it's like, oh yeah, that's what that all was, working towards or working for. And then you do it all over again with something bigger and better.
I'll take one of my hardest case scenarios that I had to go through for problems, for stuff coming up. That was my divorce, my first one, my only one. I've only had one divorce. Don't want any more.
Yeah,
but
don't throw that vibration out there, dude.
Yeah, don't want to. But that was one of the hardest times where I had to literally reset my life because we had a house and all the stuff, and I just got booted and I was gone. And I couldn't really do anything about it. There wasn't a whole lot. And I was 20, or 25 at that point, I think. But so I was pretty young. Doesn't really matter, but it resets your life when things go wrong. But I'm glad I went through that because it taught me how to be a better communicator for my next relationship. It taught me how to, treat the person that I love a little bit better, and just like the people that I allowed into my life that much better, because I wanted my relationships to work from that point on. Because I was like, why can't I make things work? I was so frustrated with myself. I was like, I can't make things work. And so I dove into Anthony Robbins, of course, Waking the Giant Within. That was my first personal development book that I hit. Now I'm 40, so I've been reading since. But it's taking that time, again, to allow yourself to be in that state of, okay, this shit's going wrong. What can I do? What part of this is within me? Like, what is that piece that I need to work on for this situation? And I am so glad I've gone through those hardships, but I was not glad when I was going through those hardships. Now I'd be a little more glad. I think I'd be a little more grateful for hardships now, because I am built that way now. I've created that path to be like, ooh, this is a problem. I'm excited. what's going to happen when I solve this problem, this challenge?
Right.
Like, it excites me.
Yeah, the whole exploring the self is an amazing journey, because I mean, if you're open enough to take a look within and see what you could change, improve, evolve from, leave behind, whatever, like, you can truly live a better life. And if
Yeah.
you're not open to doing that, you're gonna keep repeating the same patterns. So for those listening to this call, if you're repeating the same patterns, or life ain't going the way you want it to, take that moment to step back and take a look at yourself. Stop blaming others, which I'm not saying they're not to blame. They could be doing stuff as well. But most of the time, the shit that we go through in life, we're directly related, obviously. But not a lot of us are capable of facing that. And that kind of goes back to the mirror work that I was talking about before. I kind of noticed that if you can't look in the mirror and talk to yourself positively, most likely you're talking to yourself negatively all the time, and you're not capable of seeing it because you can't even look in the mirror and talk to yourself. So you're probably creating these cycles of hell that you're most likely wanting to stop, but you just keep creating them over and over again because you don't want to go in and do that self-reflection of, what can I do differently? How can I change these outcomes? What do I need to change within myself to stop living these, horrid cycles? And until we're ready to do the work, we're going to keep repeating the cycles. So I invite you to take a second to step into that fear, to take a look at yourself, to improve yourself. You ain't got to do big leaps and bounds in a minute. Take baby steps. Smaller the step, the easier it is to work through. The easier it is to work through, the more you're going to want to work through it. So treat yourself good. Take those little steps to self-improvement and start living your best life today.
Yeah, man, I couldn't have said that one better myself. That was awesome. That's right. Start living better today, right now. I think it's very Zen, honestly. And I've read a few Zen-like books and done a few practices and meditations to where you just, get in the now, get in the moment. That's one of the things I love about Eckhart Tolle, man. Power of now. I don't know if you've picked that one up yet, but you have to, man. You will just die.
I've not, but the power of now is, to me, it's self-explanatory. I mean, like we were talking, if you're carrying things from the past, you're obviously not living in the now. If you're dreading things in your future, you're obviously not living in the now. And right now is what we truly have. It's all we have. Right. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy this now. It's where you're at.
Yeah, we were talking about, I was talking about this with a couple other people, and it's the moments of silence that really create. That's where creation happens, is in those silent moments of time. And I think it's such a beautiful scenario if you can get quiet, but it's hard at first, like, to quiet the mind. Like, it takes a lot of practice.
Oh yeah. And I think we were talking in our first episode how, like, for meditating, for me to quiet my mind, I thought I was doing great, and I was only doing like 30 seconds or something like that. It wasn't much, but with practice, I've improved. And it's kind of great that you bring it up, because I've recently started doing in my Reiki group calls the power of silence, to where I will guide you at the beginning and I will inform you what to expect or what to do, the breathing technique to hold and all of that. But then there's nothing is said for like the next 15, 20 minutes, or, however long I feel called to keep the silence going. And then when it's, I feel time to break the silence, and I'll start bringing people back. But that time to just be quiet, that time to go within, that time to receive messages from yourself, from source, from your heart, from wherever, that are going to help you uncover things about yourself so you can start living your best life. It's a very powerful thing. That's why I love the power of silence.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I don't remember who said that too, about the music, silence and music. Do you know that one? I'll look it up real quick.
Sounds of Silence, the one song.
Oh no, that's a good song though. I really like that song. Disturbed did such a good rendition of that one.
Yeah, Disturbed really did do a nice remake.
Silence music quote.
I know and what was it, American Pie? They talked about the music being dead.
Mozart. The music is not in the notes, but the silence in between.
Oh, interesting.
At least that's one. Looks like a lot of people have taken it though, but it was earlier. I know it was much earlier. So it must have been one of those guys.
And that, knowing that people hear through vibration now due to certain life circumstances, that's even more hard hitting than it would have been with my previous assumptions of how people live. So feeling the vibration of music and then the silence in between the notes, it allows you to be ready for that next note, that next vibration, which if you're deaf, you can't hear. It wasn't Mozart deaf as well. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, it reminds me of I know we're all into the whole Think and Grow Rich things, and I know in that one of the first chapters there, Napoleon Hill talks about his son who was born without ears, essentially deaf, and but he could actually hear, I guess. And after he was able to feel the vibration coming out of whatever the music thing was they were listening to, and then eventually he went on to create like the best hearing aids at the time and that kind of stuff, right? Because of that reasoning, because he never put a limit on him saying, well, you can't hear, I guess you're stuck.
Yep. That's all she wrote. I might as well just go lay down and be done with life. I can't hear, so I can do nothing else. That's some horrible, limiting beliefs. Don't put limits on yourself, people. Don't. It's not worth it. You can do anything you put your mind to.
All right. I feel like that when we get stuck, so the exercises we've come up with so far, if we get stuck, take a breath, think, meditate, go into silence. I'd say walk into nature too. I think walking in nature is a big important piece of that.
Yep.
Just give up on whatever you're doing and take a step.
Go sit in the sunshine. Even if you can't go outside, you can go sit by a window, the sun's beaming in, and that'll still help liven you up a little bit.
Yep. I find nature is such a huge cure for a lot of things. I was reading about this 3-day tracking, like path trekking, going through mountains and stuff like that. And they would take people with like PTSD and other really hard problems and bring them up there. You had to leave like your cell phones behind. You had to leave all this other stuff, but you were just in nature. They carried like one satellite phone essentially in case of emergencies. But it was like, it healed so many of those kinds of problems, anxieties, depressions, PTSDs, name however many mental illnesses you want to name. But it's one of those things that if it's been proven so many times over and over again in the thousands of years that we've been alive, it should become common sense. Do we do that? Not most of the time, I feel like we should, but we don't want to shit all over ourselves either. I think it was one of your posts.
Something like that. Honestly, I think a lot of our problem is we're becoming numb to the things that truly benefit us. Like we're being trained to believe otherwise. We're being trained to believe that the greatest thing in the world is Western medicine, and it's not. There's many alternative methods that work just as well. I mean, there's according to the Bible, according to Scripture, I believe it said something along the lines of there's supposed to be a plant to help heal any ailment that is brought to us. So it's like, if that's the case, why are we ignoring nature so much? Why are we creating so many synthetic things? It's like all these preservatives in food. It's getting to the point where if you can't pronounce that word, you probably shouldn't eat that product. It's not going to do you benefit. I mean, it may give you substance, it may help you stay alive a little longer, but if you don't have to eat these foods, you can essentially live a better life, live a healthier life, live a longer life. You might, I'm not saying cancers are linked to this type of stuff, but you might avoid diseases like cancer when you eat a healthier regimen of food. I'm not saying run out and become vegan today. You do what you need to do, but have a healthy balance. If you're going to go eat McDonald's one day, definitely have yourself a nice salad the next day or something to counteract all of those. I don't even know what you want to call them, but I can't really call them food.
Calories. Just call it calories.
Something like that. But yeah. What else was I going to say on that? Oh yeah, but like we're just becoming numb to the things that are truly beneficial to our health. We're no longer going outside. Our kids don't even play outside. I mean, they're born with a tablet or cell phone in hand, and they know how to use it better than we do. It's that's screaming issue. Something's wrong here. So we've got to take that time to recognize our surroundings, to enjoy that time. Even if you're just sitting on the back patio with your feet in the grass barefoot, you're still going to get the grounding effects. You're still going to receive the healing effects from Mother Gaia. It's going to be beneficial. But if you'd rather sit inside and sit on your laptop or sit in front of the TV and watch YouTubes or something and binge Netflix or whatever, and not even look outside, you're not going to receive the benefits that can come from the earth, from the sun, from being outside.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why we also need to take better care of this planet. Like, we are like destroying plants left and right that could possibly have the cure for certain things going on now. Now, according to what would it be here? Oh man, I don't have my laws up here anymore. I gotta print those back out. But one of the laws, universal laws, is that there's always a balance, right? So that for every good, there's a bad. There's for everything going on, there's both sides of it. Like always, always, always. If you can feel one direction, then you know how to feel the other direction, whether you know it or not. If you can feel down, then you can feel excited, right? It's disturbs me a lot that we are hurting the planet that we live on. It's the only one we have currently. I know we're trying to move out to Mars and stuff, but which will be neat in about 100 years. But right now, we have to take care of where we live now. And one of my goals is to really start supporting environmental stuff, but not to the extreme sense. I don't think that going overboard in any direction is good. Like, I'm not going to go sit there and burn a bunch of boats down kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, no, we need to all do a little bit. And if we all do a little bit, we don't have to be the extremists. We don't have to be those, people freaking the F out, yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs. This must be done now. Well, stuff must be done now for sure. But telling the entire world that they have to change absolutely everything just to appease this one person's belief is a little outlandish. But if we all take that time to, maybe recycle a little more, maybe pick up that trash we see walking through the park and actually put it in a garbage can and properly recycle what we do have, instead of dumping, oils and antifreezes into the grass in the backyard because we don't want to take it somewhere and dump it. Well, let me tell you, there's places that accept use motor oil and antifreezes and stuff like that, so we don't have to dump them, because that goes into our aqueducts and that goes into the water we drink, and now we're drinking these chemicals, these poisons. And it's like, I'm in Michigan, so we all know about Flint, Michigan. Well, little less known, the St. Clair River is considered chemical alley, and that's because the amount of chemicals that are dumped from Canadian facilities. I'm not saying America's great at all, because there's other that I can tell you about, where like Dow chemical plant is totally polluting this one river, and they bought 37 miles downriver so they can hide it from the EPA. And it's well-known info. I know people that researched this and found all this info. It's all easy to get. But when it comes to actually getting these companies to stop poisoning our land, poisoning our waters, and poisoning our airs, that becomes more difficult, because greed is a huge freaking factor. Cell phones, that's another thing. People are constantly buying cell phones. Well, look at all the materials that's used to create a cell phone. How many tons of earth have to be dug up to create that battery in your cell phone? How much petroleum has to be processed to create that plastic case? And it's, we're all guilty of poisoning the planet because of all the technologies we have. And yeah, it would be great. Like back in 2004 over here in the Northeast, we had a huge blackout. We had no power, nothing for like 4 days. And that was the greatest freaking thing ever. No internet, no cell phone. I think back then people still had pagers too, but none of it worked. All of it was done. What did you get to do? You get to enjoy the quiet darkness in the house, or, the hot heat outside. You didn't have the luxury of air conditioning. You couldn't turn a ceiling fan on, or you couldn't turn a fan on to circulate air. We had to go back to the old ways of, folding up the piece of paper just so you can sit there and fan yourself. Because of course it happened in the middle of summer, or towards the end of summer. It was like August, I think we had the blackout. And I'd love to see that happen again. I mean, I'm not saying it should, but just so the world can see, so these kids, these younger groups, these younger generations can see what the world is truly like without the technology we've been blessed with. And technology is a blessing. It's an amazing thing. It helps us do so much. But at the same time, it's kind of dumbed us down quite a bit, prevented us from going outside and enjoying the true gifts that we've been given.
Yeah, I would say like the internet has become, it's kind of like, I think the newer generations are getting this better than our generation will, but I feel like the kids are hyper smart, all of them. The internet has put them in a position where they don't really need to know the answers. Like school is just based on memorization and shit like that. Why do they have to remember things when they can just go Google? Hi. It's like Ford was talking about also, and he was being in a court case for that libel court case. When he defended himself, it was like, I might not know the answer to some of these questions, but I could have a button on my desk to where I could call anybody anytime and get the answer to any question like that.
Yep. Then that was one of his greatest assets, knowing that he wasn't the genius, the smartest man in the planet, but knowing he's smart enough to say, hey, I don't know this, but I pay this guy over here to be my advisor. He knows this shit like the back of his hand. And like you said, he pushes that button, James, come on in here. How do we make this manual transmission become an automatic transmission? And they figured out quite a lot by delegating the intelligence. Like, how to do this, help us do this, let's create. And that's an amazing thing about teamwork. We're taught a lot nowadays that we do it all alone, which, yeah, we're alone with quite a lot, but we don't have to be. We got teams. We can create a team. We can create that network so we can live life a little easier. And that's what I love about Noble Goldman. We've got,
I was just going to say the same
amazing
thing.
People in this community that we can reach out and like, hey, somebody help me work through this. And next thing you know, you got 5-10 people hitting you up in your private message. You're like, hey, let's have a call. Let's have a session. Let's walk through this. I've been through this. Let me help you. And it's like nothing but love and support. And that's what we need more of in this world, is that love, support, and guidance instead of that selfishness, greed, and anger.
Right. And I want to come back to building that team piece, because I think that's important in order to create, like, when you do have problems come up, I think that's a great resource to tap into when you are stumbling, when you're having problems, but you want to grow through it more quickly. I think it's very important to surround yourself with people that will help you get out of that stuckness, whatever that happens to be at the time, because once you're able to tap into that kind of network, you recognize that, holy crap, this used to take me weeks to get out of that kind of funk. Now it takes me less than a day, because I can just holler at somebody and be like, hey, I got this going on. What's going on with you? Like, even for instance, we do podcasts. So I've been working on podcasts for a couple of years now. But even now, like, I'm going to be meeting on Thursday one of the guys in one of my other groups, because he's building a podcast studio right now. And I'm like, well, what a good resource that would be for me to tap into. So he was like, hey, you can reach out and we can have a conversation. I was like, cool. So I reached out to him and we set up a time for Thursday. I'm going to be meeting him on Thursday at 7 a.m. And it's like, dude, that's so cool, because I'm going to learn so much about, like, the different things that I want to learn about. And you can do that with any industry. You can do that with any volunteer thing. You can do that with any environmental thing. You can do that with anything you set your mind to.
Exactly.
My God, George, what a concept. And the sad part is it's not taught. That's not taught in schools.
Oh, there's so much not taught in schools that should be. Don't even get me started on that shit.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, no, you're telling me.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the greatest thing about the networking is, can you imagine, this is for the viewers, can you imagine not having to carry something for hours, days, weeks, months, years? Can you imagine reaching out and just, hey, has anyone got experience with this? And in a matter of moments, having, one, if not many people reaching out that want to help you walk through it, because, you know, when we heal ourselves, that's great, the world improves. But when we help others heal themselves, it becomes like the chain effect. Was it like the dominoes, when you knock the stack of dominoes over, you just watch them go around and around? When one person helps another, they can help another, they can help another. Next thing you know, one person's helping 5 people, those 5 people are helping 50 people, and it just grows and grows.
Yeah, that's, oh man, that's such a brilliant statement, because this is how simple it is, everybody. If you smile at somebody and it makes their day, and then they do something nice and kind to somebody else because you gave them a smile, and then they did something nice for somebody else, and it goes down the chain, that's the energetic butterfly effect. That's the compound effect. That's how everything works. Like, there's always a wave that you create. It's like the pebble in the pond. You throw a pebble in the pond, you see the waves go out. It's very much the same thing as we're walking around this planet. Everywhere we go, the more we're kind, the more we smile, the more we love, the more we do these acts that help people and create a good environment, the more the world will also do that.
And the more you're helping us create that positive wave that ripples around the world.
Boom.
So smile at a stranger. Fuck it.
Boom. I'm telling you, man, it's just like that flywheel. It starts real slow, but then once you get it going, it's like boom, 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 boom. And that's what I'm excited about, man. I love that. And we're creating that positive wave right now with stuff, these kinds of conversations that help people get unstuck, help people grow. Oh, I just got shivers all up and down my body, man. I just love helping.
Beautiful. So, hey, while we were chatting, I pulled the card from that new deck I was telling you about. Ooh. This is Money and the Law of Attraction cards from Esther and Jerry Hicks. I don't know if this will show, but it says there is no shortage of time or money. And then there's more on the back side. So take a little look at that. On the back, it says there is no shortage, and any attention to shortage of something wanted will always produce negative emotion within you, because your guidance is letting you know that you have strayed from your broader basic understanding of abundance and well-being. Whether you are focused upon the shortage of money or seeing yourself as having only so many years to live, and so each day that is expended is one day closer to the end of yours. That feeling of decline is contrary to your broader understanding of eternal nature of your being. So, and that kind of hits on some of what we were talking today about stop limiting yourself. Stop that lack mindset. Open up, just allow yourself to receive. If you think it can't make it happen, envision that way to make it happen. I mean, the Dream Concierge is right here next to me on screen. He will help you walk through life and help you create these dreams so you can see that future, so you can start living that higher vibration and living that better life. So yeah, don't limit yourself. You can do anything you put your mind to.
Yeah, I love that card, man. That was perfect for today, because we were talking about getting still, which is you're thinking too much if you're not believing that something can happen generally. That's only our brains. Mm-hmm. Our brains are here to protect us. It doesn't want you to extend. It doesn't want you to like do that, but you can train your brain. And I love that all the technology coming out now, that all the science even based, let alone the faith-based piece of it, is that you can do things to your brain by repeating certain patterns. And the more you repeat those patterns, the more you're going to think of it. Now, when you say stop for a minute, don't keep thinking about what you want, I totally agree with that. I find that when I finally stop thinking about something and I start going to do, like, put my attention on other things, after I've already stated that I want this XYZ, whatever that is, and I don't pay attention to it. I just trust that it's going to show up in its own way, whatever that means to you, because everybody's different and everyone has their opinions. But when you get still and then you just let it go, whatever that want is, whatever that need is, it just filters into you at the perfect moment that you needed it.
Yeah, that's part of the law of attraction. You just throw it out there. This is what I want. You don't put a date on it. You don't put a time on it. You don't put a price on it. You just throw it out there that, I need tires for my car. Don't put on who's going to bring them to you or how it's going to be brought to you or anything like that. And just know that you're going to get them. And soon enough, if you're in alignment, they will come. The better alignment you're in, the quicker stuff seems to come. And this is all stuff I'm going through right now, learning these laws of attraction, being in alignment, and just saying, universe, hey, I need I need X for the vehicle. Can you help me make this happen? And sure enough, a couple of days later, I get a check for like $50 or something like that, and I go buy the part I needed, and poof, I'm back on the road again.
On the road again. On the road again.
Awesome. It works well when you don't limit yourself and you just remain open to receive.
Yeah. It's letting it go, man. It's just like, that was the hardest concept for me, I think, is determining what I wanted, number one, like getting a visual like thought as to what I wanted. It took some time to figure out what I wanted. Like when you're first starting out, you don't know what the heck you want. You don't want XYZ, you do want this and that. But you have to write it out and get it like really solid as to what that want is.
For me, it was, I didn't dream big enough. My wants, my desires for my future were so small, so minuscule that I was limiting myself as to how amazing I could be, how much I could do. So when I was starting out, my beliefs of what I think I could do or should do were just small. But as I started growing and finding myself and loving myself more and realizing, holy shit, I am capable of amazing things, that's when I started creating the better dreams, the bigger picture of what I wish to make happen. And it's great when you don't think small. I mean, there's not anything wrong with thinking small, but when you're planning your future, go as big as you want to go. Who cares? You don't know how you're going to get to it. Picture that mansion, picture that 100 acres in a little log cabin, with a pond in front, whatever your heart desires, just throw it out there and don't allow it to be small unless that's truly what you want. But you may find that that image changes or that vision grows as you grow as well.
Well, a goal is simply a direction. It reminds me of Dr. Wayne Dyer, though. Have you read his Wishes Fulfilled book yet?
Wishes Fulfilled? Oh, I've even heard that one. Wow.
Yeah, Dr. Wayne Dyer, though, he wrote it some time ago, but it's a good one, and it's all about that. It's about like just saying, this is what I want. Get still, get visual, know exactly where you're going, kind of thing, or know exactly kind of what you want, and then somehow it just like we were just talking about, you just let it go and let he called it God, so I'll say God. He let God do the work essentially, and it just did. And he had so much coming through his life at the time. I thought, like, what a beautiful human that man was, as far as like teaching us how to do things with our brains, with our bodies, with our souls, with our very soul, really. Like, I feel like he was more of a soul teacher than anything, because I think that a lot of his teachings got me into that. But it was that Wishes Fulfilled book goes into real depth as to how you can actually use all of these tools that we've been learning for the law of attraction, more or less.
Did he talk a lot about the art of giving and receiving,
mm-hmm.
and giving, how to be in gratitude? And
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
so much.
So he had so much coming through, like he just got into a state to where anything he pretty much received, he would be able to give away, because he had enough coming through that it didn't even matter.
a great place to be, to turn around and receive so much that you can give just as much back out and still be okay.
And that's how I want to be in my future. Like, I really do. I want to be able to give away so much stuff and do so much stuff, build so many things, do so many things, because I don't dream small.
But it boggles my mind. We've got how many trillionaires in this world now, but we
Yeah.
still have a large number of homeless, a large number of children going hungry and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying, buy them a house and support them, but what's wrong with, getting them a little bit of help, getting them that mental help, getting them some nice clothes to land that first job so they can, get back on their feet. I mean, that's a lot of what our homeless is it's either mental issues that brought them down and tore them down, or it's just the fact that they couldn't get back up after being torn down, or a combination of both. And then there's stuff, obviously, I don't know, but all the humans need is a little kick in the butt sometimes to help us get back up. And yeah, granted, there are some that aren't ready or don't want to yet, which is fine. We're going to find people that aren't ready to change or improve, or who are ready to get off the street.
That's the thing. People have to be ready for it too.
Yeah, it just, I just don't really see much happening in the area of helping out our fellow brothers and sisters. I mean, believe it or not, we're all made of stardust. We're all, we may have different moms and dads, but we're all still part of the human race. Why can't we love and respect each other a little more?
I don't know, man. I've been asking that question for quite some time now. Like, I'm full of love, but I still see war going on. I'm full of kindness, but I still think people being unkind. Like, it boggles my mind as well to see that we went that direction. Like, we are the only species that like self-annihilates. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I'm not saying a wolf doesn't kill a wolf, but it's like humans do it to a whole nother level.
Right? We're more like vindictive about it. Like, oh, you have these and I want those, so I'm gonna, beat you up, or I'm just gonna shoot you and take them. All right, well, why, what's so hard about you going and earning your own? You'll actually appreciate it a lot more when you take the time to earn it. Well, when you just take it, you're just a dick.
Well, I mean, even look at like the war, or I guess there's a couple going on right now, but it's like a lot of it has to do with like oil, gas, energy, atomic energy kind of thing, and those kinds of things. And it's like, why do you want those things? Like, what is the real internal motivation here? Because I don't see it. We could be growing to where we could be creating something where it doesn't take those kinds of energies. We could be growing and creating stuff that would allow us all to have a kind of I want to look at the country. I'm going to change this a little bit, because I want to look at the countries that are doing good, that are doing right environmentally, that are doing right with like their homeless population, for instance, because there are countries with zero homeless population. Granted, some of those countries, the homeless would die because they couldn't be outside in the weather, but in turn, that's kind of a piece of it. But it's like, I think there's a way that we can look around the world, see who's doing what right, take those lessons and apply it to our own countries. I really wish we could just go to one world kind of thing. I think that would be so much cooler. That way we'd stop fighting over borders and other such nonsense. But then that comes with another set of problems.
Yeah. I mean, there's two ways that could go as well. But really, the whole war and all that, it's fear-based. It's to keep us scared. It's to keep the vibration of the planet low, so we can continue being controlled, can continue to be programmed, can continue programming our kids through school. Like, it's one big mind fuck the way the world tends to work, and it's breaking these cycles is possible, but it comes with the fact of when people are ready. If you're not ready to wake up and see the truths of the situation around you, then you're not going to see them. I've had people tell me, like Google, we've talked about Google and being able to look stuff online. I've actually had people in the millennial generation flat out tell me Google's full of lies. And it's like, well, yeah, I agree. There's lies everywhere we look. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that drives me nuts about the internet is so many believe everything they see. They read one article, okay, this is the truth, this has to be it. It's like, no, you got to read a few to figure out who's actually, telling truth if possible. Because my whole belief about the internet is, yeah, it's great. I absolutely love it. But at the same time, I know that it's controlled by governments, not just the US government, but governments around the world. So they can change and rewrite and manipulate any history or any article within the platform. So you could be reading something about the history of the Alamo, and wait a second, I studied this in school and that didn't happen that way. How did history get rewritten to be like this? And it's because that's the belief that we are having imprinted it within us. It is, oh, okay, well, we want the population to sway towards this, so we're going to put this type of programming out for, you know, our puppets to adhere to, and we'll just keep pulling the strings. And it's, you know, when you wake up, you're no longer that puppet. You see, and then all of a sudden you're a conspiracy theorist, and it's like you get help for that. And it's, you know, some stuff is just common sense. Some stuff, yeah, I can be reaching, but at the same time, I've learned years ago I can't trust my government. They are not my friends. They are not my buddies. They are they are not a great entity. They can be. They can do great things, but things going on lately, it just shows that they want more power and money than they want a happy country.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's two sides to all of it. There's the good and the bad. The internet can be a great tool, or it can be a great weapon. Your choice. But definitely research. We're coming up to the hour.
That was a post I did earlier, though. It was about genetic modifications and how science can be doing great things, but it's those that have the ill intent that we got to be concerned about. So yeah, we find that love and start spreading it. Maybe some of those ill intents won't be as widespread as they seem to be.
Yeah, well, I think each person that's listening now can be a part of the solution by, number one, like once you do run into a problem and you trip, do some of those exercises we taught. Do your research, though. Don't believe the first article you read, obviously, when you're looking stuff up on how to get through something. But it is a good resource. It's kind of like that magic button that Ford has where we can just press the button and figure out some stuff. Granted, like Joe says, be wary of the truth and look at the bad situations with a loving eye, with a kind eye, because I think that's another piece of this that we didn't quite touch on. But it's like, if you look at any situation with a complete opposite effect, like the computer going off while we were trying to record yesterday, that's just one of those things that happens, but you just get still, look at it and be like, is it that bad? Not really. I think it's fine. We can move forward. We'll record another day. And then we move forward and take the action. It's the same thing that anyone has to do whenever you trip up, though. So thank you for joining us today on Positive Waves. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Have an amazing day.